A copy of the minutes so they can get a debit
Debit
card.
card or credit card? It's a credit card, right? We're not doing a debit card.
It's
Or it is?
a credit card, but it's like
Okay. Okay.
Good. Commissioners, you ready to go?
Hey, are we gonna put this housing study on here?
It was on there, isn't it?
I don't know.
Was the Thrive thing on there?
I don't see it.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is. It's on there.
It is.
We'll talk about it. All right.
It's okay.
Commissioners, you ready? Good. All right, let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, roll call. Misty Hess.
Present.
RJ Donovan here. Bill Peebles.
Here.
All right, moving on. Approval of minutes from March 4th, 2025. Entertain a motion for those.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Peebles,
I second it.
second by Mrs. Hess. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of claims for March 7th, March 14th, March 21st, and 28th of 2025. I'll entertain a motion for those.
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Mrs. Hess. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Peebles. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I entertain a motion for the approval of payroll for March 14th and 28th of 2025.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Peebles. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Mrs. Hess. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome to one of our packed houses tonight, it looks like, so thank you for coming on April Fool's Day. We'll open this up for public comment. You'll be given 3 minutes, and when you come up, if you would please state your name for the record.
Ms. Carpenter, I have some paperwork for the commissioners they might like to look at. Hi, my name is Whitney Boyce, and I'm here to talk about carbon sequestration. As we've mentioned before, Wabash Valley Resources EPA permit was on appeal. As you can see in the handout, the permit has been remanded back to the Zone 5 EPA. That means that WVR still does not have an approved EPA permit. During the appeal, the administrative judges noted that the concerns they had about the permit had already been brought up by the community members and had not received meaningful responses from the EPA or Wabash Valley Resources. In short, the adjudicant judges felt that the concerns of the citizens had been summarily dismissed and blown off. Even the judges could not discern how the EPA and Wabash Valley Resources came to the conclusion that 10 years was enough oversight. The judges pointed out that the EPA and WVR's data and modeling, which included over 100 blank pages, did not support their claims. Normally, a Class 6 well requires 50 years of oversight, and the trust fund that a company must provide is based on the number of years. WVR only wanted 4 years. The EPA said 10. It appeared to the judges that the EPA and WVR simply changed the original 4 years of oversight that WVR wanted to 10 years without any documented proof of the soundness of their reasoning. Furthermore, the judges felt that the EPA and WVR neglected to provide sufficient data to support when the plume and pressure front would be stabilized, which is why the judges remanded the permit back. Overall, I feel the judges stated it best in their ruling when they said that believing in scientific and technical expertise does not mean blind acceptance. Wabash Valley Resources wants us to blindly accept their plans without question. The company continues to say that we simply don't believe in science. However, the adjudicants had many of the same questions and saw many of the same issues that we, the concerned citizens and community members that will be impacted, raised. It appears that the judges agree that our concerns are extremely valid, and I hope you will take that into consideration when you consider the ordinances at your disposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patrice Dayton, and I am here to introduce myself to you as the newest representative from Thrive West Central. I already know RJ from working in my old job, and I had the honor of meeting Misty just last week, so Bill, I look forward to officially meeting you. Part of my new role at Thrive is to work with government officials on a regular basis, so I wanted to tell you that I look forward to working with you. It is our hope to work with you very, very soon in the near future on a housing study, a market analysis for Vermilion County. As you know, a housing study can be the gateway to many great economic opportunities for this wonderful community. We would also love to see Vermilion County have Thrive Transportation Services 5 days a week, up from your current 3 days a week. Rural transportation, Thrive Transportation offers vital services, especially for rural folks and our seniors, getting them to access to their doctor's appointments, to the pharmacy to get their prescriptions filled, or even something as simple as going to the grocery store. So the transportation services are vital. And finally, I wanted you to know that we have secured a date and a location for our 2025 Thrive Housing Summit, and I have saved the dates for you here. You are the first to receive them. So the Housing Summit will be September 11th and 12th at the Terre Haute Convention Center. It will be a regional summit, so folks from all 7 of our counties will be invited. There will be realtors, developers, builders, lenders, and community leaders like you all under one roof, learning about the housing opportunities and needs in our region. As you know, there is a housing shortage all over the country, so we look forward to seeing you there. So I wanted to thank you for your time, and also to say that if there's anything I can do in my new role at Thrive to assist you, that please don't hesitate to call me. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say I felt like I was watching the news there for a second. When she first came up.
I knew who you were.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I give you guys some handouts.
Thank you.
Also, for the record, there is only public comment now at the beginning of the meeting. In the past, it's been one at the beginning, one at the end, now it's just in the beginning, so don't wait, you won't get talk.
Thank you, Penny.
Hi, my name's Susan Strokos. I'm here. I want you to support and pass the ordinances that protect the citizens. And what I did was I went back and pulled out some of the history and stuff that we've known. The original plan, as you can see on the first one, is to create a carbon, what they consider a carbon hub. And what this does is it allows other polluters to then pump into these wells. And they will be all over Indiana. Next, you will see the actual map that shows that. I can get you the links to these if you need them. They keep saying that this is a proven and tested theory, which it is not. The next one is GTI Energy, and you can see it talks about Wabash Valley Resources. And at the very end, you can see where it says untested deep saline aquifers. So that tells you that this is not proven. And I do want you to know there was an email through a FOIA request that I got, and it just basically Nailan Gupta of Wabash Valley Resources asking if he can inject twice the amount in half the time. Safety is not their concern. We know that these leak because ADM just had 2 leaks and they have currently shut down. This is the only Class 6 well in the United States. And finally, we've been saying this forever, but they say we don't believe in the science. That's what Wabash Valley says, we're deniers, which is not true. We read studies all the time. Recently, this is a January 2025. We've been saying this all along. I think scientists have known it, but finally the proof exists that carbon dioxide does and will migrate along the fault lines and the fractures. And finally, this is a study in Germany, because this is trying to happen everywhere. And the German government just recently assessed that there are numerous risks and there's no safe solution in sight. Earthquakes, migration, water contamination, and I just want you to have that. Wabash Valley Resources knows that the vast majority of the people living under the plume are not for this. They are required to get 60% of their pore space or storage space through other means than eminent domain or forced pooling. And my thing is, where's the proof that they have their 60% needed by the law that was written, especially for them?
Thank you.
Clayton Sanquinetti, Vermilion County resident. Wabash Valley Resources wants to inject 1.7 million metric tons for 12 years in the injection sites. That's more than 20 million tons of waste. Wabash Valley Resources will receive $85 per metric ton. which will make over $1.7 billion alone. There is no economic benefit for Vermillion County or the landowners from the Wabash Valley Resource Pilot Project. They are using us, and the value of our property will go down. This pilot project puts our land, water, and people at risk so the company can make lots of dollars. We know the vast majority of people are against this, and we believe that Wabash Valley Resources knows this too, so they're trying to divide and conquer us by threatening to sue the county so they don't pass any ordinances or threatening landowners with eminent domain to convince them they don't have a choice. They are trying to whittle away, going at people separately so they can get their way. So the law states Wabash Valley Resources has to have 60% of their pore space acquired without eminent domain or forced pooling to even do the project. So instead of threatening the county, it seems like this could be easily settled if Wabash Valley Resources would just prove to the commissioners and the citizens that they have acquired the pore space they need instead of bullying them. So I say pass the ordinances. If Wabash Valley Resources sues the county, have them prove they have 60% through discovery process. Then you can always go back and have a variance to the ordinance if they have to have it. And I don't know if you guys were invited, but NDOT met with, or Wabash Valley Resources met with NDOT and Vigo County Commissioners about wanting to truck the waste up 63 to 163 down State Line Road into Peabody. I think it's one truck every 12 minutes. That averages about 52,000 trucks a year, 365 days a year. And all these people that live there, what kind of accidents is that going to cause? And I think that anybody on that truck route needs to be informed before it happens. But I don't know, was Vermillion County invited to that?
Yeah, Vermillion County was notified, I believe, the week of, and none of us commissioners could make that meeting, so our attorney represented us on our behalf and notified us more or less the same thing that I think was out on social media, that Vigo County said the same thing. And I don't believe any commissioners in favor of, carbon dioxide being trucked down a highway. We believe that's a huge safety concern. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't make it. It wasn't one of those deals where we were given 30 days notice for the meeting. It seemed
Yeah,
like
they always give you 2-day notice.
they give you a late notice.
We're having a
And,
meeting 2-day.
and unfortunately, we're not, like Vigo County, we don't, get as much salary as them. So we all still have full-time
Yeah,
jobs.
they
So
don't
it's-
give you no time to research anything. They throw it at your face and you accept it now or never. You know what I mean? So,
Thank you, Claire.
thank you.
Hi, my name's Corey Zumwalt, Vermillion County resident. I'm here to talk about the ambulance situation in Vermillion County. So on January 2nd, you guys had a special meeting. Is that correct, RJ?
Yeah, sounds about right. Elected officers, yeah, I believe
Okay.
so.
And the ambulance service was talked about and was going to talk about having meetings to open to the public.
I don't know about January 2nd. The commissioners have discussed about having a public forum type meetings throughout the county. I have two new commissioners here, and the previous board had voted to proceed with a project that would have built a new ambulance bay at Cayuga at North Vermillion. And in speaking with both commissioners, I believe our intent is to have some public hearings. Misty, Bill, would that be the correct?
Yes. Well, my concern is, here it is April, and we haven't done anything. So I heard you the other day give a good speech up at North Vermillion about the intersection to NDOT on about lowering the grade up there to save lives. Well, Vermillion County, the ambulance service saves lives. So I'm here to represent my family and Vermillion County that be our number one priority. I want to see the fight that you gave up there for us of Vermillion County.
Absolutely. And I've been a strong proponent of the ambulance service. Not to go too much in the past, but the last few years I necessarily didn't agree with the approach we were heading, and I think holding these new public hearings, if the commissioners agree, we can set some dates, maybe do one in each north, middle, south. But I've spoke to you privately before. I believe getting that third ambulance is instrumental to the community. Response time saves lives, and we have a great crew right now working. Park County's a phenomenal partner. They're doing great. But I do think the citizens, if we had another ambulance, the middle of the county's kind of always been shortchanged. Helt Township, Hillsdale, Newport area. I don't know if I don't know if we can commit to a meeting right now on dates without checking schedules, but I do believe it's a top
I'm
priority.
just asking you commissioners, the last group of commissioners really dropped the ball with the past ambulance service. Let's not do this again. That was brought up January 2nd. Here we are, April, and we haven't done anything. So can we move forward and get things done?
Yeah, I believe very shortly the commissioners can announce some dates to hold public hearings and set those, and I believe there'll be 3 north, middle, south.
And I'm not picking on you, RJ. I want to see the fight out of you guys too. I believe the ambulance service is very important. I was very impressed with your speech the other day, but I want to see that fight for the people of Macon County.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think all commissioners share the same initiative here that we want to do what's best for the citizens, and that's why these commissioners have asked to hold these public hearings because they haven't been here for 5 years like I have. I've seen the days from this to Eric Shaughnessy to Park County, and that's a lot of information for them to absorb in 90 days.
Let's just quit making excuses and get the job done. Okay.
I don't know that it's excuses, but I mean.
Well, I mean, that's what I've heard from my side of the family. So let's get things done.
Well, the commissioners are committed to having public hearings, listening to the community, and that's why you've seen the Cayuga project stall because that's a $700,000-800,000 potential build. And
I heard up there in that speech that $600,000 for a box culvert. If it saved one life, it was well worth it. So money's not an object.
Well, the $700,000-800,000, what I'm referencing is to build a new station, and my counter argument is that was to add another ambulance to provide more coverage to the citizens.
If we can do that, that would be great. If we could do 2, that would be great. But let's get it done. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Janet Santil. I'm sure you're aware Wabash Valley Resources have lied and misled our legislators by saying things that are thousands of wells like this in Indiana. However, our state legislators are starting to wake up and recognize the deception. Even legislators who have received money from WVR are now questioning the safety of these types of projects. Our state representatives are becoming educated about carbon sequestration and its risk. You can see this by the very close votes that just happened on SB 457 in both the House and Senate. Because of the risks surrounding CCS, legislators are now starting to put forth bills and amendments to protect citizens of Indiana from companies like Wabash Valley Resources. We're here to ask that you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Rick Berger with Duke Energy. I'm here to thank you as a county. We just recently had a storm go through here last Sunday. And up here on 1300 North, we had 18 wooden poles we just replaced with steel poles through the county here. And I just want to say shout out to the leadership of this county. RJ, I know you and I worked a lot. And the county highway, your EMA director, sheriff department, you guys came to our need. And I just want to personally just say thank you for that. I could report about an hour ago that circuit's back in and energized. Warren County REMC's has an underbuilt. They're putting their wires on it too. So everything should be back in place in a short time with them too. So again, a shout out to the county. Thank you very much. The other thing, item 2, our Cayuga generating station project's moving forward. Exciting times, folks, for this county. It's a $3 billion project. We're converting that from coal to natural gas, and we're excited to, that plant's going on 60 years old. It's got use out of it, and we're moving forward with that. We're increasing the size of it too. That plant feeds 1 million homes in the state of Indiana and around this area of the Wabash Valley. We're increasing the size. When you talk a power plant, you talk megawatts, 440 megawatt. And that's a sizable increase for a plant like Cayuga. the jobs that it create for construction is around 500 jobs. So we're excited to still continue to be a partner, looking forward to being a stronger partner with you here in the county too. So great project, a big thank you. And there are more storms coming tomorrow evening, so hold on. Here we go. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Rick. I would like to say thanks to Duke Energy. I know it was a quick response up there, the people at 1300 North. I know it's never quick enough when you're without power. So as Rick said, you know, as these storms come in, be prepared, have things ready. And thanks again, Rick. Appreciate it.
Well, it takes a village of people, so thank you all. It really does. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment before we move on? One more? I don't know.
They can hear it on the recording. I thought. it was
It's got to be back there, I think.
Feedback.
Someone's phone, maybe? Someone's phone?
Jack Swalls from Vermilion County. And I just wanted to meet the newbies and hope that you all will listen to the community folks out here and put a squash to some of this CO2 business. I just can't believe the lies and perception that they've given people to make it sound like it's greater than apple pies. You know, but when you get down and see what's happening, look at Illinois and other places, it's not safe. And I keep saying, you know, if it gets into the water, everybody's wanting to like build Terre Haute. That's all I hear in the news. You know, let's make it better. Let's bring more people in and do this and do that. If it gets in water, Terre Haute's done. Now that's a heck of a risk. And they say, oh, it will never do this, it'll never do that. It's happened. You know, it's not if or what, it's when. And I just hope you don't knuckle down under him. We're behind you 100%, and we're hoping you're behind us. And don't pack up and get down the road, you know. So I really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
And I hate to see what happened to you, Channel 10. I don't even watch the Channel 10 news no more. I heard some dumb stuff. That was. I really thought
Comment. My name's Mike Kelly. I live in Fairview. And you've heard the number of trucks and things if they switch from piping to trucks. Piping's dangerous. Trucks will be a train without tracks, day and night. It's something that no community or town should even risk. Well, it's common sense. You know, that's why they built trains, to take those trucks off the road. And I wanted everybody to be aware of that before they made a decision on permits to go on our roads with a hazardous material like that. And they're right about, they have no answers except the local departments will take care of stuff if we have an accident. They have no way to fix an accident. And I'm talking like Terre Haute only has two companies that can respond to even a train leak on a car. Well, if it leaks in the well, there's nothing they can do. I don't care what they tell you. They cannot control anything a mile down. Also, they lined the pipe, the main pipe, with concrete to protect it, right? This gas looks for water, and it turns into carbolic acid, which eats concrete. So even plugging the well with concrete is not the way to do it after you've pumped so much down there. There's no way they could guarantee it. And they want a short term, 4 years is what they tried to get, or 10 years. They don't want to be here when it happens. So you got to look down the road into the future for our kids and not let this happen. Do not drill the holes. Like I said, they don't know what the saline solution would do. They're dealing with pressures that they don't talk about. And common sense tells you to not approve anything for this company. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Brock, and I keep hearing the word well up here. I just wanted to clarify that point. It's not a well contained under the ground. This CO2 that Wabash Valley wants to pump in the ground is going to go in the ground under a bedrock. It's not going to be in a well like everybody thinks it is. You know, it's not contained at all. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other public comment, we will move on to open issues. First under open issues, area plan, Brad Johnson, Penny Carpenter, proposed Vermilion County UDO plan. Brad?
Hey, it's good seeing you all again. So I'm here to talk about the UDO. It's been in front of you for quite a while. Matter of fact, I think the Area Plan Commission last heard it, had the public hearing on the 9th of January, and then shortly thereafter, the commissioners at their next meeting took that ordinance, kind of did a once-over kind of presentation about it. We knew you were not going to adopt it that night. We knew we needed to come back. We also knew we needed to it.
Can you speak up a little bit? We're having a hard time
Yep.
hearing.
I will do my best. So the last time we met, we knew that we were going to do some research on the 3 sections of the Unified Development Ordinance regarding the carbon sequestration. That has been completed, and I'll give a quick report on that here momentarily. The other thing is just knowing that you would likely not adopt an ordinance such as that on a first reading anyway. So we knew we were going to be coming back a second time no matter what. So since that time, the Area Plan Commission hired a land use law specialist to advise them on litigation regarding the carbon sequestration pilot project. And honestly, with a lot of frustration and disappointment, that concluded in the attorney advising us to, because of its possible interpretation as being an outright ban on the pilot project, is to remove those 3 sections in the Unified Development Ordinance. So tonight, based on that, the recommendation is that the commissioners take a vote to remove those 3 sections and send it back to the Area Plan Commission, who at their next meeting would hear that, and if they vote in the affirmative, agree with you, then it does become law at that time. So the UDO would become an official ordinance at that time. The Plan Commission also, per state statute, has the ability to further make amendments to it or to reject the commissioner's changes. Honestly, I don't know what would happen at that meeting. I assume that they're going to follow the guidance of the land use law attorney that we had hired. But I do know there are Plan Commission members that are quite upset and disappointed in that. So that would be the recommendation. So our attorney, basically, after reviewing the legislation, reviewing case law and other aspects, he has been personally involved in a lot of pipeline projects. He's been involved in a lot of other federal, state issues that result in issues in local communities. He's honestly, in my opinion, the best land use law attorney we've got in our state that focuses on helping municipalities. There are lots of land use law attorneys that specialize in that, but only work for the private sector. So he's one of the few that in private practice that really focuses on the public sector. And I know very specific cases where he's been quite successful in helping communities defeat various petitions that are moving forward. So I do take his advice seriously, and for that reason, again, removing those 3 sections. So that's our recommendation. I would say that his depiction of what's written into the statutes is that he believes that the state legislators have decided, some could question arbitrarily, that Vermilion and Vigo counties are the best spot for this project to take place. They've made that decision for you. They've decided to be kind of a superior planning board and BZA and legislative body and basically saying that they get to control what you can and cannot do in your community. And because of that, and there's precedent for that, there is legal precedent for that. We were asked, can you challenge the state legislators on that, on their position? And you can, but there's really no evidence that that would be successful. In other cases where they have decided to exert local law, it has stood. So lots of questions were asked, but in the end, that's what the recommendation was. What this does, on a positive note, is that there's 99+% in this document that will benefit the community, even with those 3 paragraphs struck out. There's development proposals that are in the pipeline. One, a solar farm that has been kind of waiting for this to get adopted before they can start moving forward, and other projects for that matter that have just been on the back burner waiting for this ordinance to get adopted. So we think that there is positive that comes from this as well. Now, a couple of other things I do want to say is that the Area Plan Commission has also been advised that a short-term moratorium on carbon sequestration can withstand a legal test, and that the Area Plan Commission is interested in pursuing that. What that does is it gives the Area Plan Commission time to prepare what is called performance-based standards. It's not going to ban or completely, prevent a pilot project, but it may mitigate and certainly put the county in a little bit better position to regulate that as it comes through. It cannot be to the extent that it would be a ban. So if you ramp up the standards so much that it really provides no options, that would be a negative thing. The land use law attorney is willing to help advise us on that. He and I have talked extensively. It's not going to be a silver bullet in any way. It certainly is probably not going to satisfy your community that's upset by this, but it can make it better. Additionally, not through the APC's process, but aside from that, is that there are, through research and conversation with municipal attorneys, it's believed that there are several non-zoning related ordinances that can be adopted that also will help mitigate and put the county in a better position to respond to emergencies, to be able to respond to trucking routes, to respond to just a variety of pieces that could be pain points. But it's not something that would go through the Area Plan Commission. Those would be ordinances that the commissioners would seek out and look to adopt. But those also could be ways to help mitigate consequences or conditions, risks, that type of thing. So I would be willing to certainly talk about those at a later date, but that is kind of where we're at today. Now, I do have to say one last thing, which is because the state statutes say that once an Area Plan Commission holds a public hearing and gives it a favorable recommendation, it starts a 90-day clock. That 90 days expires the 9th of this month, so we're on a short time frame there. If the commissioners don't act by the 9th, again, this is statutes, nothing that the APC has imposed, is that it becomes law on the 9th with those 3 paragraphs. So that's the reason why we're hoping tonight you'll take action. It's just not a great way to adopt a zoning ordinance. I honestly don't know too many communities that ever have adopted an ordinance by time limit, extending beyond a specific time limit. So that's, again, the reason why we're here today.
So, Brad or Penny, when's the next APC meeting?
The 10th.
10th?
Next Thursday.
All right. And the UDO is what, 200 pages? Is that right?
It's a little over that.
200 pages.
If you take out all the white space and all the things that make it user-friendly, it goes down significantly. But we try to design the document so it's easy to find things.
Yep.
There's lots of white space built into it, lots of graphics built into it. again, if you just strip it down to language, it's not that long.
All right.
But people do see the page number and are like, oh, that's a lot.
So commissioners, it seems that we need to act on this ordinance, UDO ordinance tonight. And the recommendation from the APC is to pass a unified development ordinance striking the 3 carbon sections.
Sections 5.24 C, D, and E.
That's the recommendation tonight. Another recommendation the commissioners could go with would be rejecting the ordinance in its entirety. I understand both commissioners sitting here has not had the time to review it that I have. That would give you both time and get sent back to see if there's any other things, because there's a lot in the ordinance, whether it's septics, whether it's fences, whether it's whatever the things may be, residential, agricultural. So that's an option too. I'll open it up to the floor to the leisure of the commissioners, the majority, what you guys would like to do tonight. Or any comments or questions for Brad as well.
If I could interject just one thing while you debate that, think about an answer there for RJ. The Area Plan Commission from day one has been committed to reviewing and kind of monitoring this ordinance after it's adopted for 1 year to see where it's successful and to see where it's not working out. And if there's anything that's kind of rises to the level of like an emergency or something really that we need to fix fast, we can fix it fast. But the majority of things, they're just kind of minor annoyances or just things that maybe are not quite calibrated, is that they're committed to reviewing the document at the end of a year and making those amendments. And part of my commitment, even though my contract will be finished, is that I'm still going to provide that service at no additional cost to get through that last round of revisions. The reality is we have no crystal balls. This document has been through many Plan Commission meetings, multiple public hearings with the general public. We've had a committee that also went through it for nearly a year. And we feel like it's pretty good, to the point that we're starting to guess whether or not it will be good this way or good that way. And until we use it, it's hard to know. And that's why we feel like that 1 year period of time. And we would certainly welcome the commissioner's input on that too. For instance, if there's something, a pain point that shows up, you can trigger the Plan Commission to review that section, prepare an amendment, and get it adopted and back to you at that time. And that is just that's a quite healthy way to look at a zoning ordinance. I've seen way too many communities get to the 99-yard line, and then it takes another year to get that last yard and to get it into the end zone. I'm not suggesting, because we do have new commissioners, that you don't want to maybe review it, but on the other hand, I know the Area Plan Commission, myself, the steering committee that we had, have put in a lot of time and do believe that it's calibrated appropriately, at least to start this 1 year time frame to start reviewing the document for errors, things that we maybe need to calibrate further after that 1 year's up.
I also want to go on the record, Penny Carpenter, Executive Director of Area Plan. There have been hours upon hours on this document. You had a committee, we had a committee, we reached out to people, trying to get people on the committee. We've done our due diligence. You've got to do something. Just to deny the whole thing tonight is absurd, because we've got to get something in place. We're running off a 1970 zoning ordinance. This is 2025. Something has to be done. Second, well, I can't go there yet. Well, and we want the 60% proof that they have their 60% Wabash Valley resources before they do anything. They need to prove they have that.
By law, they can't do anything without 60.
And they need to show you guys that they have it before they start.
Back to the UDO, commissioners. Sorry, Penny. Back to the UDO discussion, motions on the proposed UDO.
There's one option that I don't believe is on the table, and that is to adopt it in its entirety. What are the ramifications for that?
So, and again, without going into all the details, the land use law attorney that we hired said that it would be interpreted as an outright ban on carbon sequestration. Now, it would play out possibly two ways, is that the pilot project, the belief is that Wabash Valley cannot sue based on a potential of it banning their project. They actually have to come in and apply for the project and get denied, and then they have to be denied by the BZA, which can grant relief from that initial denial. And they have to exhaust that step as well. And if they are denied by the BZA, then they can take it to court at that time. And at that time, it would go to, I know that they've threatened federal court. Our attorney does not believe that that is the path they would take. They really don't have any grounds to go to federal court. Again, that's just his opinion, based on his experience. And then it would go through the court system, and you may, 2 years down the road, have to approve this project based on a court decision. The other option is that the pilot project comes in, and because it is preempted, or it's believed to be preempted, is that they get issued their permits. But by keeping those 3 paragraphs in, you are then subsequently preventing a second, third, fourth, fifth project from coming in, because it does have that language in there. So that's a positive for the secondary projects. It would also possibly prevent an extension of the pilot project, because my guess is that after 10, 12 years, is the anhydrous ammonia plant going to really just close down and no longer provide CO2 to be injected? I mean, chances are it's probably going to keep going. So what happens with that carbon? Are they going to look for more wells, more pipelines, more trucking lines, whatever it may be? So in all likelihood, those would not be preempted by a pilot project, and therefore your ordinance would apply to that. And again, these are all just speculations. I can't speak to how it would play out. That's just conversations that we've had with our land use law attorney and the impressions that I've gotten from that.
John Spur.
Well, I've put out my opinion that in its current form, it would not be legal to enact, because it would be interpreted as a total ban, and we're not allowed to do that. So that we've got a declaratory judgment action on file. I've invited any interested party to file a brief and see if the judge will rule that it's legal. And to date, no one has filed a brief. It's been on file since December. So I haven't had anybody step forward and make the arguments that this is legal. So.
Any other discussion or motions for any of the proposed recommendations from the APC?
It sounds to me like there's a lot tied into this other than carbon sequestering. And I think to reject the entire ordinance would be slapping some people around that put a lot of work into making this ordinance. But I propose we strike the 3 paragraphs that he's mentioned, and
once you open that door, you ain't gonna close it.
So I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Peebles to approve the recommendation as presented by the APC to accept the ordinance with striking the 3 paragraphs pertaining to carbon sequestration.
I don't agree. No.
Do I have a second?
So what are some other things that are?
We're gonna have a second before discussion, more discussion. Do you want a second, or? Then we can have more discussion.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mrs. Hess, and then more discussion.
So what are other things in there that we've missed? Obviously we missed these 3 paragraphs. So what else is in there that we should be alarmed about? I guess those are questions I would have to have.
We knew from day one that adding these paragraphs was clearly going into gray area. There's no legal test to say if it would hold up in court or not hold up in court.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that that I understand the law for zoning, for instance, is that unless there's a clear and well-known precedent, you can put about anything in an ordinance and it will be law until a judge tells you it's not law. And some communities will go into gray areas, adopt it, and get 2, 3, 4, 5 years out of that regulation before they get slapped by a court. I'm not saying that's the right thing. They do it naively. They don't know if the court will rule in their favor or against them. So they do it, and they get the benefits of that ordinance up until that point that they're told otherwise. So for that reason, we felt like we would at least tiptoe into that gray area and put some of these paragraphs in there because of the outcry from the public, and knowing that it's a big issue, it's an untested issue. It is a public health and safety issue. I have personally been involved in one case that went to the Indiana State Supreme Court, and for all of time, the courts had said, you cannot do this thing. We wrote it into an ordinance saying that this community could do that thing. And when it escalated through the courts, the Indiana Supreme Court said that, yes, you can do that thing, and it's okay. And that's the first time it had ever been recognized, and it was all because of public health, safety, and welfare. That seems to have a higher level of credibility when life safety is on the line. And so again, that's part of the reason why we put this in here. What I said also is that the APC at this next meeting, we're going to be entertaining the idea of a short-term moratorium on all carbon sequestration so that they can't file their permits today or tomorrow or in the next, whatever. I don't even want to say how many months, I don't know how many months, but a reasonable amount of time. Courts have upheld moratoriums on something for you to be able to investigate what avenues you still have available to you through planning and zoning. And again, they're not going to be an outright ban. It's just not believed that that would ever hold up. But we can impose things like separations from schools or separations from other sensitive uses, or, I mean, I don't know. There's just a variety of things that we want to explore, but we have not had the time to do that yet. If we say it's a moratorium for 10 years, it would get shot down for sure. There's plenty of cases where communities have tried to do these long moratoriums and they don't hold up. But if it's a reasonable amount of time, you can make that work. And we just need a little bit of time to figure out what those regulations would be. So that's a direction we want to go. And then there's a second part to that, which is secondary projects. How far can we go with regulations for a second, third, fourth, fifth entity wanting to do carbon sequestration here? And the belief is we can go beyond what we can do for the pilot project, but how far? We'd like to explore that. One possible solution is another moratorium on those secondary projects that is enough time for us to evaluate the consequences of the first project. So what I mean by that is that if, and we've bantered around different ideas, but you know, pick a period of time that from the start of the pilot project, assuming it ever gets started, for a period in time, it gives, that second moratorium actually gives you time to see what the impacts are. Like, are they tearing up the roads so bad that we can't even get regular farm vehicles up and down roads? Are they wiping out fence lines? Are they burdening the police departments, the fire departments, ambulance, whatever? I mean, you'll be able to figure out what the ramifications are of that over a period of time and be able to adjust to and make sure you put those regulations in place before a second project or a third project even gets proposed. So those are some directions that we're exploring.
And Brad, before the April 10th meeting, if the commissioners review anything in this adopted ordinance and the majority agrees to have something changed, do you want that sent to Penny then, and would that be a...
Say that again, I'm sorry.
If the commissioners review the adopted ordinance, since they
Yes.
haven't possibly reviewed all of it.
Yes.
And if there's anything the majority agrees that needs to be changed, that needs to be emailed to the APC director?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
State law states that plan commissions are where ordinance revisions start, although it kind of hints at they can take recommendations from a variety of entities to start that. So yes, that would be the starting place.
Okay. Any other further discussion before I call for a vote?
I would like to put in here that I am not for carbon sequester in Vermillion County. But if that ordinance was passed, in my opinion, the way it is, we will be in a courtroom next week being sued by Wabash Valley Resources.
You can give them a variance. They did do that to Iowa.
All right, if there's no other,
I'm not scared.
if there's no other discussion by the Board of Commissioners, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on, Ron, we're gonna move you up to the beginning of the agenda per your request. Surveyor Ron Mack requests.
We didn't hear.
Motion carries 3-0 on the proposed recommendation of the UDO ordinance presented by the APC by their recommendation.
And the recommendation is what? It's hard to hear in here.
The recommendation was to strike the 3 lines of the carbon sequestration per the land use attorney they hired out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that's what the commissioners of Vermillion County voted to adopt tonight, 3-0. It is going back before them on their April 10th meeting, as Brad has discussed the entire time he was up here about looking at a moratorium and reviewing other information. Ron, I'll welcome you up to the podium.
Okay, thank you. I've got one to show everybody here. Real quick, in a previous administration, I noticed that the sheriff's department had an old Jeep, and I would like to use it to haul my survey equipment around, and it turned in to be quite a lengthy endeavor, which we finally did get it taken care of. But the Jeep did give up the ghost last year. And so the sheriff has said he'll have a pickup available for me, maybe not as soon as he hoped with the last weekend's activities, but sometime. So I want to make sure you guys are all good with me using a county vehicle, first off. Second off, to put the gas in it, I'll just use a county voucher like it's already being used. I'll just code it for the surveyor's office. And it's my understanding from talking to Kylie, when they settle up at the end of the month, you'll just charge X number of dollars to the surveyor's office. And I keep my own spreadsheet on expenses, so I'll just have to get that dollar amount from her to keep my budget. One of the things that I'm very concerned about is 4 or 5 times a year I have had to use my personal ATV and UTV out in the field. And I do that without compensation other than mileage and no insurance. And with me, if you okay with me having a pickup truck, the county highway garage does have a trailer which I can use, which will be very beneficial. I'm only going to need it 4 or 5 times a year. But I also kind of think that I need to have some sort of temporary lease to the county whenever I put my personal equipment on your trailer or use it for county business, just to cover any kind of liability that I might run into. I haven't had any problems, but the reason it's important is I don't want to have a problem if I accidentally run over some poor kid's puppy out in the cornfield, but it's chasing the UTV. And you may laugh at that, but that actually happened today to us. A dog was chasing us down the road with the UTV, and when we stopped, it cut across the highway right in front of the truck. And family dog, so there wasn't anybody at the house, so there wasn't anything I could do about it. But that is a potential liability, so I'd like to kind of work around that.
Yeah.
So here I just gave John or somebody said I probably need to fill out a conflict of interest disclosure statement, so you have a copy of that there. Then you have a copy of a simple equipment lease I got off the internet, and if you guys are good with that, that's the one I use whenever I use my ATV or UTV. Like I said, it's only 4 or 5 times a year. right now, the only thing I really have planned right now is to get Andrew, out with me. We want to go ahead and run some of our ditches and see, from DNR perspective, which ones need dredge, which ones don't need dredge, that kind of stuff, so. But he's agreed to go with me, so. Need that. And then these are just stuff from Purdue. Oh, there's a copy of, what it costs to rent an ATV for the day. This is Adventure up at Attica. That's $249 a day. This Sunbelt Rentals, I think, is $200 a day. Yeah, $200 a day. So I just thought, well, hey, $50. If you're willing to pay me $50, that's what I'll charge the county. If you don't want to pay me $25, I'll take the $25. Just so there's some exchange of money back and forth to tie up the lease.
Sure.
So that's what I'm asking for your consideration tonight, and I don't know whether you need to make this decision tonight, but.
Sure. Commissioners, any questions for the surveyor or any thoughts on his proposal?
I think I had sent an email, or maybe somebody had sent an email about maybe like, had you looked at purchasing one for the county as opposed to using your personal vehicle?
I think the sheriff was looking at one, but when he needs one with all the bells and all the whistles and all the this and all the, for emergency type stuff. Like you see at Indiana State Fairgrounds, have you seen those? With the stretchers on them and all that kind of stuff. I don't need all that stuff. I just need to drive it up and down the ditch. So I don't need all that extra stuff.
Well, I was just looking, so if you use it 4 to 5 times per year, and it's $249, if we were to do the
if you were going to lease one,
and we had it 5 years, then that's $6,200 for a new ATV vehicle. So I was just thinking, would it make sense to purchase one for you to utilize? So
I really wouldn't use it that much. That's 4 or 5 times a year at the most. So if it's simple just to throw mine on your trailer and everything's taken care of, I think that'd be the easiest to do. The simplest.
Sure. Bill?
There's a lot of moving parts there, but I'll make the motion. It's the insurance part of it.
Yeah, just the liability of putting my ATV on your trailer or using it for county business.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Peebles to accept the proposal presented by the surveyor, and that will include a lease agreement with the county.
Yeah, if John's good with it, if John's okay with that.
I didn't see any problems with it.
Okay.
Short and simple.
As presented by the surveyor tonight before the Board of Commissioners, do I have a second for the motion?
second it.
I have a second by Mrs. Hess. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ron.
Commissioners.
We'll get that signed. Alrighty, moving on. Next order of business, proclamation making April Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Any commissioners want to read this, or they want me to read this? All right. Whereas the Council on Domestic Abuse has a mission to end sexual assault and recognize April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence and widespread and impacts every person in the community, and whereas rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment harm our community, and statistics show 1 in 3 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives. On campus, 13% of college students experience rape or sexual assault. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about the prevention of sexual violence, support survivors, and speak out against harmful attitudes and actions. And whereas prevention is possible when everyone gets involved, it is time for all of us to take action to create a safer environment for all. And whereas we join advocates and communities across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. Now, therefore, we, the Vermilion County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Vermilion County, and urge all citizens to actively support the activities and programs sponsored by the Council on Domestic Abuse and to work toward the elimination of sexual assault. Signed and witness whereof the first day of April 2025 by the Board of Commissioners, Misty Hess, R.J. Donovan, and Bill Peebles. All right. Moving on, Vermilion County Dana Demolition Project. Christy Gerald.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Christy Gerald with Gerald Consulting and Grant Administration Services. Vermilion County Commissioners are going to apply to the Indiana Office of Community Rural Affairs to the Community Development Block Grant Program. That is a program, it's a federal grant dollars that trickle down to the Lieutenant Governor's office, and they award, manage, and disperse those funds. So we are actually going to apply to round 1 of 2025 for this project. It is for 3 buildings in the town of Dana. The Vermilion County Redevelopment Commission actually, let me read this whole paragraph. Their development process began in 2018 when the Redevelopment Commission was formed, and the Redevelopment Board began identifying vacant, blighted buildings within the entire county of Vermilion. And early 2019 began acquiring tax sale blighted properties. October of 2019, commissioners applied for and was awarded an Okra planning grant for a countywide comprehensive plan, which that was completed, which redevelopment was a part of the stakeholder group participating in that planning process. March of 2022, Okra comprehensive plan completed listing continued blight elimination, revitalization, and strategic areas by coordinating efforts already in process. From April 2019 to April 2025, the redevelopment acquired blighted properties, demolished 6 out of 16 blighted properties in the entire county. 2021 performed structural analysis. 2022 to 2023 obtained EPA brownfield grant dollars to conduct phase 1 environmental site assessments and investment surveys on the specific Dana properties. And these properties are 100, 104, and 116. They're all contiguous. They're on the town of Dana on North Maple Street. One building the town of Dana is actually using as a maintenance garage, but it's, as you know, it's scary. The other 2 buildings, one building has collapsed partially, the roof's kind of coming in on another. So these buildings are public health and safety. We've got to get these down. So this grant program is actually an all or nothing, and it's very competitive. As of right now, we have a proposal that is due on April the 17th through the grant management system. A final application will be due June the 20th, and hopefully we find out that we're awarded on August the 21st. As of right now, we're the only community in the entire state that has actually applied for the demo project. Awesome. So I think our chances are going to be pretty good. We are actually have to have 2 public hearings. We're required, run before proposal, which we're doing tonight, and one will be before your final application in June, so that'll be at your June meeting. Total project cost is $581,050. We're requesting a full amount of grant of $500,000, and so the local match is $81,050, and that comes from $5,000, which you've already previously paid for us to clear those properties environmentally, and then $76,050 is coming from the County Economic Development Fund's local fund number 1149, which is used by redevelopment. If you turn to the back of your agenda that I gave you, this program is all about chasing the points, and as long as we, sounds like we're not going to have anybody up against possibly, so as long as we make the points, we will be awarded, and I'm very, very confident that this will be awarded. We have to get 700, we must get at least a 450. Our national objective score, out of 100, we're getting 75 points there because the commissioners on March the 4th passed the Slim Blight resolution, so thank you for doing that. The project is also one of the properties, the laundromat, I believe is 100 North Maple, the old laundromat building. It is actually listed on SRF's brownfield site list, so we get those points there. So 75 out of 100. Community stress, this is set by certain entities like IU School of Business, all these other entities such as median household income, labor force participation, other topics. We're getting 116.61 out of 175, and that's huge because normally my communities are in the 80s to like the 90s, so we're well over that. Local match, with this program, you're required to put up at least 10%, but we are actually putting in 13.95 percentage points, so we're getting that out of 75. We'll skip down to project sustainability. You're getting the full 50 points in that category because we are listed on the IFA registry of the brownfield site for one of the properties. And we do have a site development plan, which is very simple. We're just going to seed, straw, and fertilizer. It's going to be an open green space. Bonus points were submitted the day the round opened on March 13th, and we were granted those points. So project design factors, those are the narratives that I'm developing now. I'm working directly with John Moore, the president of the redevelopment. Met with him. We have a project description where we're explaining exactly what we're doing, how our robust planning development process began, how we've gotten to this point. Project need, we're explaining why we need to demolish these properties. We're talking about, police having reports of people breaking in, vandalism, bricks falling off buildings, that kind of nature. Financial impact, we're explaining why we don't have the funds. Redevelopment does not have the funds to do this on their own. So they've already, demolished 6 out of the 16 properties, plus cleaned up 2 other vacant lots. So they need some help, and that's what we're doing here. So we have to score at least a 169.44 out of the narratives, 300 points to hit the 450 mark. And I've been scoring anywhere from a 265 up to a 295 on my narrative, so I think we'll be just fine. So at this point, before I open for questions, I'll let John Moore speak on how he believes, why he thinks this project is important.
John, were you leaving all the talking to Christie?
I was planning on it.
That's what I thought.
This is just for the points of the application, okay?
Okay.
If I'd have known that she was gonna make me talk, I'd have watched it on TV at home. So, John Moore, President of Redevelopment Commission. The 3 buildings she's talking about, one of them used to be a laundromat, which I can remember when I was a kid, my mom actually washing her clothes there. And the inside of it is falling apart, and in a way it's a shame because it's got brand new wiring in it. I'd like to borrow that. The other building is currently used by the town, the way I understand it, as a garage. The 3rd building is actually Haga's garage, which redevelopment took an option to buy on. And should this all come to fruition, I guess we'll have to buy it. But anyway, long story short, the buildings are falling in. There's one on the other side of the street, further down the block, that we own also. Unfortunately, it's butted up next to the Rivet Post Office, and we're not allowed to use Okra money when it involves a federal building. So that one's gonna have to come down, but we haven't figured out yet how we're gonna finance it, because according to the engineer, they share a common wall, and if we take ours down, the post office will probably go with it. And we don't want to put Dana in the position where they might lose the post office. That's pretty important to those people. So anyway, long story short, seems like, I hope, town will be better off when we do this. We know they don't have the money to do it. When it's all said and done, what we will do is gift our property to them. And hopefully it'll either be green space, or maybe they'll decide at some point in time to put up another building. It's up to them. We just want to make it to where they can actually do something constructive with it, get rid of a couple of eyesores and move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this time I'll open it up to the commissioners first before the public. Do you have any questions about the grant process, or?
Do you need us to ask questions to get extra points, or no?
No, well, kind of. One thing we do, I know you have as a county a lot of top priorities, but one thing that they like to see in the application is the actual commissioner president saying this is a top priority project, so.
Yeah, well, I could say that. Yeah, I think this, anytime redevelopment can take down blighted properties, including the one in Dana, I think that is a top priority in the county. Redevelopment just took one down on Division Street in Cayuga. That was kind of like a showing for the whole town, I think, 50, 100 people showed up to watch that, so that was definitely, and it's a lot safer now. You can go through the bank drive-through and not worry about, bricks maybe falling, on your vehicle. So, yeah, we commend the RDC, the grant writing team, everybody involved on going after a project like this in Dana. It means a lot to the community, so.
And so I will open it up to the public, and we are required to have one resident comment, so is there a resident that would like to speak? May I ask your name?
My name is Iny Mahan.
Okay.
And I'm the Veteran Service Officer for Vermilion County. And I think our paths are going to cross with this grant, so I'll be able to help you on your points with grants. Because I've been eyeing that one.
Okay.
And I was trying to figure out how to intertwine it into the Veteran Service Office. And your opportunity will give me the opportunity to open my door, and then when I come through that door, I'll be able to pull my stuff in and help you out with your points.
Okay. May I get your cell phone number?
Yes, it is Well, my cell phone's my personal number, but I do have a card.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Don't want the whole public to know your cell phone number.
Hold that thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there another resident that would like to stay there for the project or not for the project or have any comments?
Marco here. I live in Dana, and those properties have been caving in for years. It would be nice to see them get cleaned up. Be nice to see something decent go on with that lot. It's just a nice garage for the city workers or a little grocery store or something like that would be good.
Thank you, Mark. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Christie.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Alrighty, moving right along the agenda. Next before the commissioners is Commissioner's Order establishing precincts. It was in your packet, emailed. This was something started a couple years ago. If you can see through it was in 2023. The previous Board of Commissioners did not act on this. Scott Craig had asked them to. Former clerk Gracie York tried to get this done and not, and I believe Tammy is just following up, getting some of these things done. So it's before you today. If you'd like to approve it, make a motion, table it, whatever you guys would like to do. But it's very simple. There's a house property located in Eugene that was annexed by the town of Cayuga. And it needs to be changed for the precinct line. That individual votes currently at a different precinct, but gets a split ballot because they should be voting at the Cayuga precinct. So again, this was thought to be a simple thing a few years ago, but it just kind of got put on the back burner and not accomplished.
So why was that one property annexed by?
So this property was annexed by the landowners, which the landowners are my mom and dad. They own the property. They wanted to have the property annexed. You would have to ask them personally why. They went to a hearing for the town of Cayuga. Town board approved it. So again, it's more kind of a formality because the house is already in Cayuga, but for the precinct and for the sake of the clerk's office, making it easier for them, there is no split ballot. If it gets moved into the precinct where it should be, there won't be no more split ballot. So it's more of a formality that this needs to be done.
It was annexed before.
Yeah.
Years ago, so it's...
Yeah, and a lot of times the counties, towns, and Scott explained this to both former commissioners, annexation done by towns, they have the authority to do that. So a county can't jump in and say, you can't annex, Bill Peoples' house if you want to be a part of like the city of Clinton or the city of Perrysville or town of Perrysville, I should say.
It's just the one property.
Just the one property. Yeah, you won't. Yeah, this is what they call voluntary annexation, where a person petitions the town board. They go before them, say why they want to do it, and in reality, it raises their taxes. It costs a little more money, but the property was supposed to be. Long story short, the property was supposed to be annexed in the '90s, and the ball was dropped. Paperwork was started, and they seen it through.
So, what's the benefit of changing the precinct line there?
The benefit for the clerks is it's less work because whoever the voters are at that location are receiving split ballots, and they're the only voters at that precinct receiving split ballots when they should be at the Cayuga precinct or whatever precinct that town would be a part of. I have a motion by Misty Hess to approve the commissioner order as presented. Do I have a second for the motion?
Second.
Second. Do I have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain due to the fact that this is property owned by my parents. So motion carries 2-0 on the commissioner order. So Misty, make sure I don't sign that one after the meeting. Let them sign that. Okay, moving on. Thrive Housing Study. Misty, I know you met with Ryan. Did you want to talk a little bit about it?
Well, I do, but I'm going to pull up this email really quick, actually. I did meet with Ryan, and we did talk about the housing study. However, it was brought up that redevelopment had actually been working with, I believe, someone, but not Ryan, because Ryan, when we were at the meeting, I was unaware that Ryan didn't know about the actual housing study that already redevelopment was going to
Yeah.
move forward with. So I think we just put it on here because it's a formality that we do believe in the actual housing study and that we need to have it done. We've been sitting in some meetings, and without that housing study, we can't even apply for certain grants for money. And so it's important that we get the housing study done. So.
For sure. And I spoke to Ashley James the other day about this. I believe it's the Vermilion County Redevelopment Commission and the City Redevelopment Commission and potentially the Vermilion Rise, is what she told me. And someone is going to put in an additional appropriation for the $21,000. And she had asked that if the commissioners are in favor of this housing study, whether it's by speaking in favor tonight, whether it's signing a letter and providing it to the council, they would like to see the commissioners, if we are in agreement, say we believe this is, and I second Misty's, sentiment that, we are losing out on potential housing grants. You look at Clay County, Vigo County, they're spurring with housing growth. And even though it may seem like a lot of money and a study to tell us what we need, but if we get that money and we get more developers in here to help build the housing stock that we need, I'm definitely in favor of anything that can help that.
I attended that last meeting, and John left. I was going to ask him.
Bill Reynolds, I think, has been a huge
yeah.
part of the supporter of the housing study.
But the redevelopment committee had said that they wanted to do this, but they want to get with Clinton and some other folks to see how we can spread that money out. I'm in favor of doing it, but I don't want to jump on top of that and say the whole 21,000 is coming from us.
No, for sure.
No. I don't think that's.
No, I think for us it's maybe a signed letter of support that says we support the housing study, and in any capacity we can help, we'd be willing to do so.
Can I speak to this?
Please.
Sure, Bill.
Bill Reynolds, I'm on the Thrive Board, and Bill was at the last meeting, and I've talked to Misty, and I've been lobbying for this study to be done for probably close to a year. And this will enable us to access some grant money that will help stimulate some housing development. At the last meeting, if I remember correctly, the Redevelopment Commission did vote to fund $10,000 toward that $21,000, which leaves the residual up to County Council, and I'd love to see Clinton City get involved in this as well. If you guys can talk to them, get them involved, because Clinton City would benefit as well. So, like Bill says, I'd like to see this spread out so everybody's got some skin in the game to help this develop. But it's a good program. I advocate for it, and thank you for your consideration.
Sure. All right, well, if there is no other discussion, we'll just, Misty, if you want to draft like a letter or something, the commissioners will sign it in support of the housing study, and we'll get someone there at that additional appropriation for the council meeting for support. Alrighty, moving on. Vermilion Trails Alliance. Les Zimmerman. Les, you got 3 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Les Zimmerman, representing Vermilion Trails Alliance. And we've been on quite a journey here. We started on this process in January of 2022. So we're 3 years in. Vermilion Trails Alliance worked with you on your behalf to submit a grant for Next Level Trails to provide an extension to the B&O Trail, which is across the floodplain there at Hillsdale. And our goal is to arrive at the public railroad crossing where we can access the county highway system and go on from there. So as I said, we got held up pretty bad with a conservation easement issue. It took us 1.5 years of negotiation with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. We have resolved that issue. I'll draw your attention to this pass out that I gave you. I made some margin notes for you so we can kind of go through that together and refer to the margin notes. But again, this thing started in November of 2021, and we did achieve the swap of the easements. So we've had access to that piece of ground that we needed. If you go on down the whereas things there, we did get a right of entry since you all did not own the property, and we needed to get trees out of there to make way for the bridge by April 1st because of a bat covenant. we did get a right of entry, and some of us back here, we spent 4 days out there. We hired a timber cutter. We brought equipment in. We cut all the trees. They're all down. The brush is stacked. It's cleaned up, sort of. But we've accomplished our goal of getting the trees down. So that's a step in the right direction. So obviously then the next step here is to purchase the properties from the sellers. They're agreeable to prices. We have negotiated prices with them. This one that I provided to you is with the Little Farms, and that price is included in there. RJ, that's a more recent version than I shared with you. Okay, so that's the correct price. And so the grant will pay the appraised value of $6,000 per acre, and Vermillion Trails Alliance has allocated some additional funding from our treasury to cover the difference. And so there will be no cost to the county to acquire these lands. Going on down the line to the next page, on page 3, there is a requirement of this purchase agreement, which was designed by the seller's lawyers, to provide some signage. That's already in the grant requirements, and so that'll be provided by the grant, no problem there. If you look on page 3 at the top, paragraph D, that's the only one that might merit a little bit of discussion, but that requires the county and VTA to provide maintenance in perpetuity on this access lane for farm access. So I consulted with John here, and we decided to provide an Exhibit C, which is a photo, which you all should have gotten on your email, of the lane in its existing condition, which is basically a dirt lane. Not a lot of maintenance to go on there, but that's the only thing that you all would have to commit to. There's no cost. We would, between the Park Department and the Highway Department, we think that might be a 1 or 2 time a year thing, commitment. Maybe not even that. So what we'd ask from you tonight is to authorize the signature of this purchase agreement, and that would bring a 2-year process to a close, and that would allow us to start construction on this trail. So
I would gladly make that motion.
Before you do, Bill, is there any discussion or questions for him on the purchase agreement?
This is just there are more pages to this. There's just a bunch of boilerplate.
Yeah.
And John and I have talked about this, just kind of boilerplate stuff.
No? All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Peebles to approve the purchase agreement provided by the VTA. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Hess. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Les.
Wow.
You feel like you won?
This has been a journey. I do have one more thing that I would like to just throw out here. I'm not going to ask you for a decision tonight, but regarding that access lane, our original trail plan was to have a shared path with the trail being the access lane. Since we're going to acquire a 40-foot wide strip of land along the edge of these properties, we feel that we have room for the access lane, 16 feet wide, the trail, 10 feet wide, and have separation all the way down, so that each path will require less maintenance. And there's ample space for that. The opportunity that we're presenting to you is to allow us to access the Highway Department, their equipment, their manpower, to haul in several loads. I'm saying by several, I mean probably 50 or 60, tandem loads of gravel, to tailgate that in there, and then we would level it up and make the access road. If you'd like to make a decision on that tonight, we would welcome a positive decision on that. I did talk with the highway superintendent. He indicated to me, is Mike here still? He indicated to me that in his schedule, if they were going to do that, it would be the best time of the year to do it in May. So a decision from you tonight might be helpful. And I think it's worth a discussion of how can we help each other. Basically, we are going to deliver Vermillion Trails Alliance with our volunteers and our grant submission and all those things. You're going to get an amenity for the county that's going to cost almost $1.5 million. And so if we could get you all to invest a little bit of time from the highway department to help us with that gravel, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I think, Les, too, my opinion is, and I've kind of been a strong supporter, anytime the highway department or county agencies and town agencies can work together, I think the better, as long as that department head approves that, and, it's not taken away from their daily duties, but if they're free and have time, my opinion before the board would be work with the superintendent on that. I think, like, if redevelopment needs help with the highway department, I think we help. If the town of Cuyahoga or town of Dana needs help, I think, being the executive of the body, the county, I think anytime we can help another agency, I think is a great thing to do. Commissioners, any
Well,
thoughts?
this would be basically an investment in yourselves. I mean, you own this trail.
Yeah.
You own this project. It's yours.
Les, can I clarify that $1.5 million for those watching is no Vermillion County taxpayer dollars?
Yes, that is a clarification. There is no county tax money involved at all.
Sure.
$1.5 million.
Commissioners, any thoughts on this thing or any objections to working with the highway department on that?
No objections.
Nope. Proceed as you need to, Les. Work with Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along. Next one, Wayside Church vacating a platted road, and this one stays on the agenda, right? This is not the one that was removed.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, in your packet, then you should have something from Wayside Church. Upon reading it earlier, they own both sides of the road, and like a lot of houses and garages in this county, they were built on a right-of-way. These right-of-ways weren't closed, and that can be a hassle. So I believe, if this looks right, they own on both sides of the road. John, did you see any objections to this or anything the way that was presented? No?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they, this has been, I think this was approved previously, if I'm not mistaken. So,
There's been a house there for 50-some years.
Okay.
And it's been vacated twice now, and this is the third time.
Hopefully it's the last time.
Okay.
Commissioners, is there any recommendations or any thoughts on this proposal before us tonight? On the inside of it. On the inside of that one, it's on the back side of it. Yeah.
So we're being asked to vacate that
Vacate,
right away.
yeah, vacate this right away that goes through the house, yes. I had to do the same process a few years ago. I got a mortgage on my property. You can't, they won't give you one when you've got a building sitting on a county right of way, so you gotta get that taken care of sometimes.
I'll make the motion to vacate right away.
I have a motion by Mr. Peebles. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Hess. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries, hopefully for the third and final time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All righty. Prosecutor's Office. Bruce, 5 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, 2 minutes. Hey, we'll take it.
I'm honored to get more time than less. Just real quickly, there's a couple of contracts. I think I sent a copy to John, to the commissioners, also to Scott Craig. I'll be going in front of the council on one, the investigator contract, and I've got the money to pay for both of these, but it's my understanding after speaking with the auditor's office that I need to go to this kind of a contract for my investigator as opposed to a salary. So that's the investigator contract. The other is if the council had met before the commissioners, I would have talked to them first because this requires an expenditure of money that I have, but I think it probably I should have probably talked to them first and said, okay, they've said it's fine to sign this. and spend the money. But instead I'm coming to you saying, is it okay to sign it if the council says you can spend the money?
Yep.
So I'm doing it because both of you meet once a month, and I'm trying to not trip this thing forward to June or July, so.
Sure. Commissioners, any questions on the two agreements before you today?
What are you asking for us to do, Bruce?
Just to give me permission to sign, and that's why I sent it to your council to see if there's any contract issues, and I didn't hear any, that there are any, and I didn't hear that there are any from Scott Craig. They're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I can make a motion.
All right, I have a motion by Mrs. Hess. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bruce, you have the authority to sign once the council gives you the
Thank
approval.
you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, Veterans Officer.
Good evening, my name's Iny Mahan, and I'm the new Veteran Service Officer for Vermilion County. I just wanted to take a moment, introduce myself, and thank you guys for being here tonight. I was nervous about the big crowd. I don't have to worry about that now.
They're here just for us, that's all right.
But I was hoping for the bigger crowd just to let the community know as a whole the update and what I am hoping to implement. My first official day was January 31st. My office hours are 7 to 3. I encourage everybody to make an appointment, but one of the things I did say during my interview, and I don't mean to be rude to you guys, but I already know you guys, and this is more for the community and everybody to know. My office hours are 7 to 3, but when you get those VA letters in the mail, the jargon that is on there can be overwhelming to a family, especially if this is money they are relying on to feed them for the month. PTSD does not have banker's hours, so I have, with the commissioners, and they had approved me to trade in my desktop for a laptop, so now I am able to go out and see these veterans, because I have quite a few who are homebound, wheelchair bound, and I have a lot that are without means of transportation. So thank you everybody for approving that usage. So far, with me being able to go out and assist the communities and the veterans, I have been able to utilize restaurants and American Legions to connect with the veterans. I've been going to nursing homes weekly, getting their wish list. They love Little Debbie, so if anybody buys extra Little Debbies, you can drop them off at the nursing homes and they'll love it. And then I've got some, that need socks, shoes. I've been able to get sponsors to donate and buy that, so we've been able to provide those to our heroes in the nursing home. I've been able to also organize volunteers to do yard cleanup for my homebound veterans. I have about a handful I do weekly check-ins with, and I currently have 2 who I do a daily check-in with, even if it's just a text. And I do use my personal cell phone for that.
And interject, we're working on that, getting that county cell phone.
I'm not worried about it.
This is government working fast for you. This is government working really, really fast.
Well,
you may have to get to the auditor's office tomorrow and get that all fixed up.
You do, yes. Like I said, I do have 2 veterans that they either have to call or text me every day. I'm trying to leave my emotions out of this. As I have stated before, I have been in this position for 2 months. The one thing that has been so eye-opening for me personally is the mental health issues. And what I am about to say is my own personal opinion. I am doing this job for the betterment of our veterans in our community. And there is absolutely, I don't do politics because that's not how we roll in the military. We are Vermilion County and we take care of our own. According to the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs Community Dashboard data, the data was put together by Purdue University. Vermilion County's 3-year average for veteran suicide is 36.7. If you do the math, it comes out to a suicide every month. We have the highest in our area. I plan on reaching out to the Economic Development Council, ORCA. I went to a training last Tuesday, and so this is a quick turnaround for me. I told you guys I'd be prepared. I am prepared, but not as what I wanted to have answers for you guys tonight. So I'm not as prepared as what I wanted. So I wanted us to be able to show our residents a Vermilion reasons why it is great why Vermilion County is a great county to live in. So also with the housing stuff, we can, push the importance of mental health, to our veterans and their families of what they deserve. And we also, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration and the VA support the implementation of a public health approach for the prevention of the suicide. And one of the programs that I would like to get your guys' blessing on, and also the support of the community as a whole, is it's a program put on by the military veteran communities in the Parks Working Group. And it is the availability of the Military Parks Bench. The bench is created in partnership with the Pendleton Correctional Facility, featuring resources available to the military-connected community and offer words of connection to the community at large. As you can see, there's the 988 suicide prevention hotline. There's also a QR code on there for the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs connection text line. I have signed up for that just to see what the whole process was with that, and because I didn't want to sign up for something where it was going to blow my phone up like it does with car insurance. So and what you do, it asks you questions, and they cater the text messages straight for you and your answers, and provide you with resources specifically for you. And there's also a QR code on there for the Work One Jobs for the Veterans State Grant. The benches are $75 each, and you have to buy a minimum of 10. Well, there is right now, currently there's 25 benches available for free. That's why I was wanting to jump on this and get your guys' blessing so quick and have this quick turnaround. It's because they have 25 of them for free. So, but I was thinking, if we could, I would see, if like any of the American Legions, one or two, we could place them at the county fairgrounds, the Ernie Powell Veterans Park, we could do the Veterans Park there in Clinton, and anywhere else, along Vermilion County. So that was my biggest thing. I was coming here, give the community an update, and get your guys' blessing on proceeding with this grant.
So I on the grant, does it say on here there's a match on here, or no?
No.
Okay.
They have those 25 free. So what I was wanting to do, because we have to provide the transportation, we got to go pick them up and bring them back.
I think we can do that pretty easy. I think highway department.
Well, I drove a truck and trailer that's what I did when I was in the Army. But I also did in the private sector. So, if you guys had one, I would drive the truck and trailer and go get them and bring them back. But then I was gonna see if one of the other departments, if I paid, out of my account, for them to go get it and for the transportation cost and everything.
Well, I think
too.
the county could allocate, whether it's the highway department, sheriff's department, I think we can work on that. I think, to speak bluntly, I think this is phenomenal, these 25 benches. I think you've done a great job finding this. This is fantastic, and, yeah, I don't know what else I want to say, but it's just great, and I think, I would say definitely proceed on it. Commissioners, do you have any?
Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and I would just say, coordinate with any department head, Mike Clark, the superintendent, sheriff's department. I think the county will help get these loaded up once they get done, and we'll help in any way we can. I don't know that we need to spend any, money per se.
Right,
I think
yeah.
we've got the manpower and the ability to do it, and
Okay.
I really appreciate your update. I've heard good things from American Legions, and we're happy to have you.
Yep, and then I just want to put this out there also. I communicate every month with the Legions. I send them information on legislation in their interest also. And I know all of the commanders we have 5 American Legions in Vermilion County and no more VFWs. So keeping these American Legions open and going is a huge commitment on it because everybody's volunteers. And so I just want to make it public, thank you to our local American Legions for keeping everything going because it is not easy when we have new laws and all this that we're trying to straddle and the high cost of everything. And so, thank you publicly to the American Legions and to everybody out there that supports the veterans. And I knew we had heroes in our community, but after meeting so many different veterans of varying ages, we have some phenomenal heroes, and they don't even blow their own whistle, and I wish I could because I would in a heartbeat. So, all right, thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Arnie,
you.
and if the commissioners can be in any assistance, please let us know. Thank you so much.
Hoorah.
All right, moving right along. Health insurance renewal. The insurance committee has met twice. And in your packets here, you have a little bit of a recommendation from the insurance committee. USI is recommending we continue the course with Blue Cross Blue Shield for our insurance. There is some negotiating going on with current premiums and potential increases, and the council is being advised as that with the committee. But tonight, I will need approval to proceed with the USI recommendation to continue on. And currently, with part of this motion, we will need, it is 93.7 for county employees on insurance, 93 county, 7% on the employee, and it's the committee's recommendation to up the contribution from 7% to 8%. So I will need that included in the motion as well to proceed with the health insurance for the county employees.
I will make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Peebles. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Hess. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Highway request. We told Mike he didn't have to stay for this. Previously, the highway department had a, let's see here, credit card, and it's really, yeah, they need it for things, whether it's conference, whether it's buying something at the store. They had one before, but the old administrator is no longer there, so that card's outdated. We will need a motion and a second to approve that so they can provide a copy of minutes to the bank so they can get a card for the Vermilion County Highway Department. So if I could have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Mrs. Hess to approve the highway department, highway administrator / superintendent to get a credit card from First Financial Bank. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Peebles. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And then the second part of his thing, since we're talking about a veteran, second and third part, there was a vehicle that he would like to get rid of. Some people expressed interest in it. The county has taken the policy of using gov deals to put things out. It's like a public bidding site. So we've instructed Mike to do that with that piece of equipment for the county. And then thirdly, there was a vehicle that he wanted to donate to the Disabled Veterans Organization, and they would scrap that vehicle and use it to help a veteran, and we, by agreement, gave Mike that authority to do that. So just for the public's thing. So, all right, we will move on then. 911. Jimmy wanted to be moved to the top of the agenda, I think.
That's not entirely true. I do appreciate you allocating me 3 hours to talk about this.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
I'm kidding.
15 minutes
I'm
max.
trying to make this as quick as possible. So I'm Jimmy Miller, I'm Vermillion County Z911 Director. I started working at the Sheriff's Office in 2017. Just wanted to go over a little bit of things. Our CAD system, a lot of people don't know what that is. It can be computer-aided dispatch, computer-automated dispatch system. There's a lot of different avenues with that system. We have our jail system, our records management system, our evidence system, so on and so forth. Basically, long story short, it's a giant database of information that has been collected for approximately 20 years. I believe we got the current system we have now in 2006. It could be a little bit older than that, but that's the closest record I could find was 2006. We are currently with Cushing Systems. Cushing Systems has been bought and sold several times by other bigger companies, but it's still Cushing Systems. I don't know if most people don't know a whole lot about servers or computers or so on and so forth. I don't think I know anybody that's using a 20-year-old computer. That they're generally almost always outdated, and there's not a whole lot you can do with a 20-year-old computer, and that's currently what we're dealing with. Our server with Cushing is extremely outdated to the point to where the company that we pay no longer supports it. I'm told by EAS, which is the county's IT provider, that they are worried that if it shuts down for whatever reason, it may not turn back on. To the point to where they won't even be able to recover our 20 years of information that we've allocated over the past 20 years. With that being said, not only does the Sheriff's Department rely on all that information, but the Clinton City Police Department, all the town marshals, the fire department's EMA, the prosecutor's office specifically, they get a lot of information from us about people and names and dates of birth and so on and so forth. And not only that, but for the general public, if you guys need a copy of your report or so on and so forth. And if the system currently goes down, we are going to have to resort back to pen and paper, which is literally the only option we currently have at this point if that system is to go down. And as of right now, according to what I talked to with Cushing Systems, we're not going to receive any more updates. We haven't received an update since 2017. That's when I got hired. We haven't received any updates. They no longer support it, and we still pay them a yearly fee. I feel like that is not only the Sheriff's Department and E911 getting shortchanged, but everybody else involved in that situation also. When it comes to E911, if E911 was to try to foot the whole bill, it would get denied. There's only certain aspects of it that I could pay for. That's why I'm asking to try to allocate the money to pay for it as a whole. The county pays for it as a whole. So that way everything's covered, all bases are covered. There's still a yearly fee after that, but that can be paid for out of our standard budgets. The system that I do want to go with, the system I do want to go with is Caliber Public Safety. I've reached out to them. They've been very great to work with so far. I sent them an email approximately 8:30 at night after my last 911 meeting, and they called me within 10 minutes. For Cushing Systems, I have talked to, in the 3 years that I've been 911 director, I've been able to talk to a real person twice. And that's not with me having to basically do, just today we had a portion of the system go down. I had to go into the server and try to fix it myself, able to get it working, but we don't know how long that's going to work. And that's a regular basis. So it's something that is actively failing. It's getting slower, beyond slow, it crashes. And then officers that work the road, they have issues with their online system that they use in their cars. I know Bruce has had some issues with some reports that have come in from our CAD system. They're almost unreadable. And then the fire departments, they rely on our system to where if a dispatcher makes a CAD, the information gets sent out and they receive it on their cell phones through their active 911 systems. And that system is so antiquated and old, it doesn't like to mash well with the active 911 system. So they get addresses that try to send them. I believe I heard one at the 911 meeting that tried to send them to Oklahoma. Am I right? So I think they're still on their way there. I don't know. But no, it's something that, a lot of people say, oh, I really want that. I really want that. This is beyond a want now. This is a need. If this system fails, we are essentially back into the Stone Ages of pen and paper, and trying to collect everything. And then also the information that we currently have, when I spoke to Caliber on the phone, they're gonna be able to take all of our 20-plus years of information, import it directly into the new system. We won't lose a single thing.
That's if it doesn't die before then.
Yep.
And Jimmy, what's the cost of this Caliber system?
As of right now, I haven't received an official quote from Caliber. I spoke to Fountain Warren County. They switched to them, it was either last year or the year before. The quote that they received was roughly about $225,000. That is what they received, and their county council approved to budget everything to where everything was paid for up front.
Sure.
And then yearly costs came out of everybody's budgets. But
Okay.
this is something that also with Fountain Warren County having it, say we deal with a person or they deal with a patient or something of that nature for fire departments, EMS, whatever, and we've never dealt with them before, and say Fountain Warren County has, it will tell us that. So
It'll
the
share
the
information.
systems communicate. This also has a double redundancy system, say for whatever reason, because the dispatch center is at the sheriff's office. Say the sheriff's office loses power, our internet gets knocked out, so on and so forth. Dispatchers will still be able to solely operate off of the standalone system.
All right, so Jimmy, the 911 meeting you had, it's my understanding they're recommending you come here and then go before the county council to
Correct.
ask for the additional?
Correct.
Okay. So you're asking for the commissioners to?
Contingent to what is on the quote.
Yeah, contingent on that, yeah, for sure. All right. Commissioners, any questions for the 911 director?
I'm
on
not
that?
opposed to that, but I don't know what the quoted number is, so.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess.
Difficult to just give you a blank check, you know?
Right, no, yeah, absolutely, that was the issue I
You-
had. I've almost talked to them every day since sending them an email and then calling me that night, which was honestly super impressive. It's kind of a dying thing. Yeah, Thursday was when we had our meeting.
We could, in theory, the previous commissioner's done this, like Bruce. I mean, we could arbitrarily approve this and then designate one commissioner to work directly with the 911 director. And then if you feel that cost is too high for the commissioners, you bring it back to the commissioners. But if we feel like, if it's $225,000, I'm in favor of that. If it's $250, because it's a need for the county.
Sure.
But I would, open that to the commissioners to tentatively approve it and then assign one commissioner to work directly with Jimmy. And if one of you would like to do that, I can do that. It's up to you guys.
Doesn't matter to me.
Would there be any objections to doing something like that?
I don't object.
Okay. Well, if we'll entertain a motion to that effect, and then we can name Bill if you'd like to do it, that's fine, or Misty. Or I can do it if you guys don't want, doesn't matter.
I'll do it.
Okay, we'll do, yeah, okay.
Give me a chance to maybe work with him a little
Yeah,
bit
sure.
more.
I'll, since you guys have done all the motioning tonight, I think I'll do one tonight, then how about, I'll make a motion to give the E911 director the authority to negotiate price for the new CAD system and assign Bill Peebles as the direct contact on that. And if he feels that that number is confident sufficient with the commissioners, that they can move on and proceed to the county council. And I'll need a second on the
I'll
motion.
get a second.
Second by Ms. Hess. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jimmy, work with Bill on that, and we
Awesome,
look forward to seeing that. Thank you. All right, last on the agenda, I-74 Corridor Economic Development, Michael Turner.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting the entire.
Seventh inning stretch. While I pass out, go ahead and
15
stand,
minute
stretch
clock.
your legs.
It's gonna be 18.
I have some extras of the I-74 corridor plan if you're interested. You had asked for a copy and plus a copy of the petition?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have one of those for each of you. You're fine. That's size 13.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I've got a copy. That's fine.
I have, Mr. Donovan asked for a copy of the petition signatures. That's the copies. I have the originals.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, folks. I'm Mike Turner. I'm a resident of Highland Township, Vermillion County. I live just west of Raleigh-Burg. Lots going on with this I-74 corridor plan. And so I'm here before you tonight to go through some things very quickly. we met with the Area Plan Commission on March 13th. They allowed us the luxury of extended time. We won't have that luxury tonight. We do have some guidelines to meet with commissioners' settings. So we won't be here 3 hours like we were at the last meeting. We're allowed 15 minutes. And so I'm going to do the old Sergeant Joe Friday, just the facts routine. Citizens and landowners, property owners, myself, are opposed to the current proposed I-74 corridor plan as it is written. There's a lot of things in it. It's 22 pages. The issue, one of the key issues, and I believe you have the agenda, was a lack of communication regarding the proposed area, lack of transparency, and lack of truth, is our opinion. Timeline, very quickly. The timeline in this situation, it started with the Indiana Department of Transportation prior to 2022 when they decided, and I say they, the state of Indiana and NDOT, decided to improve all the welcome centers in the state of Indiana to allow truckers a place to stay overnight. The welcome center at I-74 eastbound that cuts through Vermilion County will not suffice. It handles 55 cars currently and 44 trucks. It will not handle the kind of traffic they're hoping for. NDOT came up with a plan. They have a 10-year plan to either remodel or rebuild the welcome centers throughout the state. Vermilion County, on the first plan, was scheduled for construction of 2026 fiscal year. That's one reason the redevelopment group was in such a rush to get things rolling, is because of that timeline. Unfortunately, that timeline and information was not being publicly shared. So the ball was being dropped. They say hindsight's 2020. A lot of times it's even 2010, even clearer once you look back. So let's jump ahead. Somewhere between 2022 and 2024, BCS management gets involved. In January of 2024, Commissioner Luther becomes the commissioner's point person for working with BCS management, and a master service agreement was signed. February 29th, BCS management with Lana Barigazzi gives an update on the plan, including Aqua Indiana and several other interested parties. That plan was the very first one that we've been able to research and find. Two things came out of that. Phase 1 was supposed to deal with the beef house. Phase 2, the travel center on the east side of 63. Phase 3 was supposed to bring water along 1650, down 100 west, and either along the north or south side of I-74. Technology is available today to bore under 74 to service the new proposed Spring Creek Welcome Center. Okay. That was phase 1, 2, and 3. Now, May 1, 2024, things have changed. There was an I-74 corridor kickoff. Public did not know anything about it. Again, we're missing out on communicating with the people involved. May 6th, letter of support was from the commissioners at that time to Aqua Indiana, to the Indiana Utilities Regulatory Commission. September 16th, a declaratory resolution by the Redevelopment Commission for the I-70 corridor was given. November 14th, Vermilion County Area Plan Commission approved the declaratory resolution. We'll pause there a moment. There was a secondary plan put forth in its dated revised plan revision September 12th of 2024. The difference between the original And the September one wasn't much, except it went from about 1,000 acres in the first one to almost 11,000 acres of an economic development area in the second. And the first one shows our property as one of the prime spots in the first list. After a conversation that I ended up having with Lana B, regarding was I even interested in being involved in any kind of development, I said I'm not interested at all. I don't look at it as an investment. I look at it as a stewardship. Our property has been in the family now. I'm the 5th generation to actually own the property, but we've had our children and grandchildren there at times, so you're talking quite a few. Okay, that was September's. My name was eliminated. Our property was gone off the list because I had said no. However, there is some print, some lines in the September 12th document and in this December 18th document. But let me get back to our timeline because I know we're short on time here. December 19th, Commissioners approved the declaratory resolution. December 17th, the Commissioners were, not the Commissioners, the Master Service Agreement, Lana B was offering to help the Commissioners out with your situation with the Economic Development Group that was frozen, disbanded, and they're restarting. The young lady here, Penny Carpenter, got herself in a little bit of trouble, and she didn't need to be. She was looking out for the public's best interest, and we're back to communication. Penny sent out, on behalf to the landowners and residents in that area, a postcard saying it was time for public input regarding this plan. Normally, these meetings only have 3, 4, 5 people. It was held at the Economic Development Office on Park Street. Standing room only, 60 to 70 plus people. Majority opposed it. And we voiced it the way the plan was written. So one of the members tabled it. They rescheduled for January 22nd, 2025 at the 4-H Community Building with the condition, or not really condition, it just sort of request from the redevelopment president that if you've spoken, let someone else speak so we can get a repeat. So many of us honored that, but we still had another 60 to 70 plus people at the January 22nd meeting opposed to the plan the way it was written. There was a pause in the meeting. One of the members of the redevelopment got up, made the motion, read the statement. It was seconded, voted 5-0 unanimous. All the input from the public in 2 meetings was, we were given the impression it's ignored. March 13th, my brother and I met with the area plan meeting, as I mentioned, and they gave us the luxury. We had a wonderful meeting here in this room, 2-way communication. Bob Alexander shared with us the 2020 Vermilion County Vision Plan. He even read off all the names of the steering committee. Unfortunately, the closest steering committee member was from Eugene Township, not a soul from Highland. It was from Eugene South. I don't know why, whether it's a lack of interest or just couldn't find anybody, but that was the report. But he allowed, we had some great conversation there with that. We are bringing these items for discussion. We had a productive meeting, as we said. We supplied you with a copy of the petition and copies of the signatures. What we would propose, and no decision tonight, keep that in mind, this is information tonight, is that the effect on Highland Township when you look at this document, there are two concept drawings. And one of the key issues from the very first phases in February dealt with Indiana utilities, Indiana water sources, Indiana sanitation, with utilizing Indiana, Aqua Indiana. Don't have an issue with keeping Indiana resources in Indiana when at all possible. The September 12th plan and the revised one, this one was supposed to be the final one, and I'm hoping it's carved in jello instead of stone, because we'd like to see some changes, is that they want to use Illinois Aqua, a sister company to Indiana Aqua, run sewer lines from the state line across to the Welcome Center, instead of going from east to west and service the development area. The second and third plans are proposing to go from Illinois eastward to service Green Creek Welcome Center, Beef House, the Travel Center, and anything else that develops there. Now, I'm not going to go into it because of the time restraints. Is that my ding for time? Okay.
You got 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. We have some suggestions. One of the things our dad taught us, if you've got a problem, don't just complain about it, offer some solutions. I had the pleasure of sitting at the redevelopment meeting last week. Mr. Peebles, you were there, great meeting. I offered to share some ideas. The attorney that's working with the I-74 corridor issue and the economic development reestablishment is working with BCS Menu. With the redevelopment's permission, I offered to share those ideas with the attorney and gave him my contact information. As of tonight, as of about 5:30, I checked all my emails. Their attorney has not contacted me. I would love to share some very positive, opportunistic, I guess would be able, options to look at serving that area with Indiana resources. We're concerned about the roads, heavy traffic. But again, we understand that some of the TIF monies can go for infrastructure. Okay. But I want you to think about it. I want you to write down an address, and I know he won't mind. There's a gentleman that lives north of Riley'sburg. His property is surrounded by the Hicks farm ground south of I-74. His address is 15677 North, 300 West, and it's a Covington mailing address. Google it and bring a truck up from Terre Haute or out of Danville or wherever, and they all converge. You know, the old saying, all roads lead to Rome. Well, all roads lead to his location on the Riley'sburg north-south road, the 300 West, County Road 300 West. Our concern is if changes are not made to this plan, you do deal with road commissioners and what have you. The road system in Highland Township is going to be under a lot of wear and tear, and I don't think there's enough money that will be generated to make the necessary repairs. That's my personal opinion. You have the petition signatures. There are over 400. At this point in time, the residents and landowners are opposed to the development as per this plan. However, we would like for the county commissioners to re-examine their position on this project, because you folks gave a letter of support, and that was the night of the 22nd, and boom, it passed. If you're not willing to rescind your position, we would like to recommend for consideration that the current landowners or the current land in the economic development area, including the allocation area, which again is almost 11,000 acres, not the original 1,000. And I'm not sure in the audience, if you're not sure There's 640 acres in a square mile. You take 11,000 acres, almost 11,000 acres, divided by 640, and you're talking 17 point decimals, square miles of property to be set aside in an economic area, and 900 acres of it as the allocated area, which is less than 2 square miles. Big difference. At least take consideration. Again, we're not asking for a decision tonight, but you have information. You have a month to think about it. As the one actor said, I'll be back. I'd like to come back and see where we're at in next month's meeting. See if you'll reconsider, or maybe rescind where we're at with this. The citizens are willing to offer suggestions. We're trying to get that worked out. One recommendation would be maybe to readjust some of the boundaries. Maybe shorten it a little bit. 14th, the boundaries right now are set up in this plan with County Road 1450 North, all the way north to the Warren County, Vermilion County boundary. The east-west boundaries are the Indiana-Illinois state line and the Wabash River. And then within that would be the 1,000 acres of out. There are some interested parties, landowners, willing to sell. I can't tell you what to do with your property as long as you don't make it a nuclear waste dump or something that's going to infringe upon my property and how it works. I'm concerned about what might come in north of our property. Am I done? Okay.
You can finish, Mike, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. But that's our concern. Like I said, we do have some, I think, feasible potential solutions or options to consider without ever utilizing services from Illinois. I could go on another 10 minutes about what's going on with Illinois' sanitation system and their water supply. They've already turned down another industry along the Voorhees Avenue area that required high demand water. We don't have any business dealing with Danville with water or sanitation. We can take care of those items ourselves. The timeline on this was in a rush because of the fiscal year 2026 NDOT decision for the Welcome Center. That has been changed. Michigan cities, on the latest one, I just pulled it up yesterday, February 2025 NDOT's map for Welcome Center redevelopment or new construction has placed Michigan City at 2026 and Vermilion County, Spring Creek in fiscal year 2030. We have time to get the bugs worked out of this plan instead of having a rush job and then like, oh my, I wish we hadn't done it that way. We should have done it this way. But I'll leave it there for now.
Sure.
But I will be back next month, just as if you are willing to rescind or not. I would like a decision at that time. The three of you will have time to look at the material, assess what we've shared with you tonight. We'll just go from there.
Sure. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mike while he's up here? I know he had emailed, or Jeff had emailed.
Jeff emailed,
some
and
stuff.
Jeff is also a property owner in Vermilion County. His property is along Indiana 32, just west of Perrysville. Even though he's a resident in Williamsport, he does own property here.
Sure. And I will clarify just a couple things, Mike. The letter of support you might be referencing at the redevelopment commission meeting, neither commissioner here signed that. That was a
That's correct.
That was a sole signed letter by me, asked for by the redevelopment commission. And in that letter, and Mike can attest to this, the first redevelopment meeting, I had heard there was some outcries to this. So I spent time and called every single person that was on that list and spent considerable time, at least an hour, if not on average, on phone calls with everyone on that. And I still share the opinion of, if there is water coming up there, I do believe there is areas in the economic development area that can help this county, whether it's 136 with housing development, whether it's, something along the I-74 corridor, maybe even west by Rileysburg Road. But I do welcome, comments, and I think, Mike, if you or Jeff are spearheading the, these 400 people, or, the spokesperson
Well,
for it, because a
it's-
lot of them's not,
It
not.
just sort of fell in our lap,
Fell in-
I mean, but that's okay.
But
That's
I
okay.
I would welcome any recommendations that you guys have to the EDA plan. I know both commissioners are new here, but I still think there's a positive way to welcome development. Now, I do think that, when I spoke to most people, it's the I don't want something in my backyard type of thing. But I do think around 74, do I think the EDA area should encompass 300 East? I don't think there's any type of development that's going to go around 300 East. I'm not sure there's any type of development on Old 63, I think it probably will be centered around I-74 and 136 personally. But I do think that's an easy, allocation, potential change. If the commissioners agree, I think that is something that can be talked about.
That's where you and I will probably agree to disagree on that, on some of those spots.
Yeah.
I don't have, well, let's see, maybe I do. Page 22 of that document, if you would please. I thank you very much for your patience. Page 22, Appendix C, and this is what really bothered a lot of people. We were told at the December 18th meeting, flat out, no one is going to be forced to sell. That was just made very clear. But in the document, it states that it may be necessary to acquire parcels in pieces or in whole to complete this plan. So that's not the exact verbiage, but it's close. That part, that goes back to the truth aspect, the communication, transparency, and truth. We're told one thing, and we go listen, and we read this, and it's like, wait a minute, you tell us we're not going to have to sell. Yes, there's going to be easement issues, things, we understand that. But people are concerned that we're going to be forced to sell because of redevelopment, and we don't want to. So the way the plan is currently written needs to be revised again. I will be more than happy to share our prospective options once, and I've told the redevelopment group this last week, I'll be happy to share them with them. Whatever I send to the BCS attorney, I will share with redevelopment. Would you like the same courtesy?
I think that would be great if you could do that. And I do, I would like to say what you just brought up in Appendix C. I was told wholeheartedly by the Redevelopment Commission that there would be nothing other than utility right-of-ways. And as I, read this, as you're reading it, it feels disheartening for me to make a phone call to someone and say that only waterways, right-of-ways is all you're going to have to worry about. But then you read this, it speaks differently. So I will say that
there's another location in the document, I don't remember which page number it is, it's in the earlier part and deals with property acquisition and raises some questions.
Yeah, and I will also say, when that first meeting happened, the Board of Commissioners unanimously requested the Redevelopment Commission hold that meeting in the evening. We were opposed to a 10 a.m. meeting because people can't make that meeting. So that was an issue for the Board of Commissioners, and we did not, because I don't think any of us made that meeting. We were all busy that day as well. So, like you said, hindsight's always 20/20, but there is things I believe this board can rectify and look differently.
In Vermilion County, we're welcome to see some economic growth, but we're also concerned with valuable farm ground. That's some very prime farm ground. But again, if R.J. Dunham wants to sell his prime farm ground for an industry or a warehouse or something, that's your business. If it butts up against mine, is there going to be a runoff issue or something else?
For sure.
And I'm working with our surveyor, Mr. Ron Mack, with the Rouse watershed. I'm stuck in the middle on two issues. The Rouse watershed is a whole nother animal that we're dealing with because we're getting watershed off of Southgate from Illinois coming across Indiana, and we've gotten part of it resolved to a certain degree, but the rest of it's still up in the air.
Sure. Yeah, if you could email the commissioners any of your recommendations for the updated plan.
As soon as I get the contact information, I can start that process, and so whatever I send redevelopment, I will send to the commissioners.
Sure, and you can send it, I think Jeff sent it to the auditor 1 or auditor 2, and that way it just gets to us automatically. So,
Okay.
yeah, we thank you for your time tonight, and look forward to any other
Thank you for
suggestions.
listening.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, we are at the end of the agenda. Do we have any commissioners' comments?
Burn ban.
Yes, is Mark gone, or? He left. We signed that, but yes, effective tonight, you can burn so responsibly. If it's 60-mile-an-hour winds, maybe don't burn, you know? So, Misty, do you have any closing comments? I do have one thing for the board. The kayak launch with DNR is proceeding up along Forest Glen Road. I have a call with DNR later this week. They should be working on that in June or July. And then John has the documents from the Buddy White property around Eugene. The survey's done on that. And he'll be preparing that where Buddy has agreed to donate a section of land on the Big Vermilion River as well. So I wanted to give you guys an update for that. And Countywide Cleanup Day next week. Yes, 12th. Next week, right? Yeah, next Friday and Saturday. So if you got any junk, be sure to take it to Highway Garage 1 and Garage 3. Look forward to seeing you there. And then we have the Victory 5K race this Saturday at the Vermilion Rise as well.
See you there?
I don't know if you'll see me there, Bill. Are you running?
I'm running.
You're running? Well, I don't run. So I did it a couple of years ago and I didn't fare too well. If there's nothing else before the Board of Commissioners.
May 10th is tire recycling too, throw that out.
May 10th is tire recycling. Don't bring your tires to cleanup day. Save them for tire recycling day at the Vermilion Rise. If there's nothing else before the board, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Peebles.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Hess. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.